I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Ms. Harding will do a roll call.
Mr. Burdell Williams,
Present.
Mr. Cohen,
Present.
Mr. Epps,
Zachary, I saw
I
your
see.
mouth move, but we didn't hear you.
I see you though.
Present?
Wait.
How about now? Present?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yes.
Mr. Fishbein,
Mr. Fishbein is not present, but he was aware of the meeting. And
Okay.
yes.
okay. Ms. Haywood,
Present.
Ms. Henry,
Present.
Ms. Lohman,
Here.
Ms. Mulhern,
Ms. Mulhern may not be, she's at a event and
Okay.
at the school, as a matter of fact, so she may or may not be jumping onto the call.
okay, and Mr. Schultz.
Mr. Schultz is dealing with a family situation tonight, so he will not
Okay.
be present.
Okay, that concludes the roll call.
All right, thank you, Ms.
You're
Harding.
welcome.
So we have public comments on agenda items only. So if someone from the public would like to speak, we would ask that you would raise your hand. And when you are unmuted, state your name and where you reside in the Cheltenham, in the township. I'm waiting to see if there are going to be any hands raised. I see there is one attendee, Allie Wilson. Also, for those who may be watching us through another means other than Zoom, you can send an email to CSD board meeting comments@cheltenham.org if you are attending otherwise, not on Zoom. And so, Kevin, would you unmute Allie Wilson so she can, he or she can speak, they can speak?
I think it's Mr. Barone is our co-pilot for this evening.
Okay, okay,
It should have went. It sometimes can take up to 30 seconds.
gotcha.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Awesome. Am I allowed to speak? Is this my time?
It is.
I feel like, wow, I jumped right in the front of the line here. First of all, thank you so much for having me. I just have a few things to say. I had emailed the board a couple of days ago, and I'm just following up with a couple of comments. My name is Allie Wilson. I live on Jenkintown Road. I am a mom of 2 kindergartners that attend Myers Elementary. We love it there. And I'm also an education consultant. I'm in my 8th year of working on strategic planning. And I only mention that because in my conversations with leaders and with teachers every day, we talk about this aspect of 3 leadership buckets that support strong instruction. And the first one is systems and structures. And this is important because when those systems and structures are in place, then everyone, teachers, staff, students, we can do our jobs because we know the expectations and we can focus on teaching and learning, which is why we're all here. So as we think about COVID, this bucket of health and safety is clearly one of these systems and structures that has to be in place in order for everyone to learn safely. This is the job of the leaders to put in place and determine. It's not up to me as a parent or a teacher or as a student to decide what feels like the safe decision when we're in a high transmission risk. In fact, when I took the strategic survey, it was mentioned that health and safety was one of the things that allowed deep learning to take place in the classroom. We must all feel safe to learn. In fact, in considering the horrific events in Texas today, each of us, as a parent, as a teacher, as a leader, likely has a lot of fears. So just the thought of sending my kids to school tomorrow, a school I deeply love and feel a part of, provokes a little bit more fear tomorrow than it did when I sent them today. So these things are out of our control, right? But there's also things that are within our control, and ensuring that our safety practices align with the scientific data about what we know works best to combat a vicious infectious disease is actually within our control, and what would I would call one of these systems and structures that's in the bucket of the leadership team. I acknowledge that we're all sick of masks. They're annoying, they smell, they make our faces break out, they're hot, right? But when we're talking about this time of a high risk of transmission, when we're dealing with at least 4 strains of a highly infectious disease that so infectious they can infect a whole class within minutes here, masks are just that. They're just an annoyance. I'm not advocating for using masks all the time. When we're at low or medium risk, it doesn't make sense because of that risk calculation and what the experts are telling us. But if we really follow the guidance of what Policy Lab through CHOP says, of what the Montgomery County of Public Health and the CD say, it's wear your mask. And I think we should do our due diligence here and know what works to keep everyone as safe as possible. So if we take out that clause from the health and safety plan that simply recommends or strongly recommends masks, I'm not sure if that's good enough. So when we leave this system up to those of us like me who are not experts, and I have to risk calculate every time I send in my kids, it evokes fear. It might also evoke ambiguity, but it does put us at risk of shutdowns, quarantines, and sickness. And we know the impact of learning loss during this pandemic, as well as socio-emotional learning and all of the other things that have been increasing in the last 2.5 years. So tonight I'm asking you to pause your urgency in this vote. We've got 15 days of school left. Who's counting now, right? And experts say that new variants will likely plague us this fall. So I ask that we stick to the plan that's in place. It's been working. This is one thing that we can control. And then over the summer, let's take time to reflect. Let's talk to pediatric experts about this. Let's try to figure out what it is that is best for our community and keeps everyone safe. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Wilson. I see no other community hands raised. Julie, I see your hand. Julie, you're still on mute.
I am, thank you. Just wanted to note that we did receive an email to the school board website from Matthew Ehrman, who requested that his comments be read into the record this evening.
We are going to read those.
Okay, thank you.
You're
I just
welcome.
wanted to note
Yes, yeah, we have that.
that. Okay, thanks.
Mr. Epps, I see your hand is down. Was that your, okay. So Justin, I'm going to turn it over to you for the community emails.
Thank you, Ms. Henry. We have received a number of emails from the community in regard to this evening's meeting. The first comment is from Anatia Richardson. There is no section of the township listed, so I would send out a gentle reminder to those who are participating that board policy does require you to state your name and the section of the township that you are commenting from or reside in. The comment is, I think Cedar Brook should be online. And that is the sum of that comment. The second comment is from a Logan Manning. And the comment is, do the kids get to be there too? The third comment this evening is from Matthew Ehrman, and it reads, Dear Dr. Scriven and school board directors, unfortunately, I am not able to attend tonight's special meeting of the board. As such, I am writing to respectfully express my strong opposition to any proposal to modify the district's safety protocols to relax masking in our schools, and ask that this letter be read at the meeting and or entered into the minutes. With less than 3 weeks of school remaining, even less for some, it is completely unwarranted to revisit the protocols that, while certainly not perfect, have been accepted by the community. In particular, our students who exhibit far more acceptance and resilience with masking than adults and have had a positive impact on limiting community spread of the COVID-19 virus. Nothing has changed with respect to the science. Masking remains a simple, lower cost, low impact, highly effective and proven layer of protection against community transmission in congregate settings. What has changed, as we know, is that the community level of COVID-19 in Montgomery County is now at a high level based on cases and hospitalizations, according to the most recent update from the CDC, with an average of 334 cases per day reported in Montgomery County, a 68% increase from the average 2 weeks ago, according to the New York Times. In the past 2 weeks, I have personally received, between 2 schools where my kids attend, no less than 8 of the district's COVID notice letters. 2 weeks ago, our lives were personally disrupted due to an outbreak among Cedarbrook students and several related close contact exposures. The only thing that appears to have changed is the increased tolerance or willingness of some to accept the increased risk of exposure and transmission within the school system. Perhaps it's fatigue or fear that we need to keep up with surrounding districts who have historically been more lax in their safety protocols than Cheltenham. But these are not sufficient justifications to change our protocols now under the present circumstances. On the contrary, now when community spread is high is the very time to hunker down for the final stretch of the school year, particularly where there are so many end-of-year congregate events planned for students and their families. While it may make us feel good to have a mask recommended or even mask strongly recommended protocol, we all know that in practical terms, such an advertisement is absolutely meaningless. Masking is either mandated or optional at any given time. It is only truly a binary outcome. Under the present circumstances, I urge you to maintain the current safety protocols requiring masking in order to protect our students, staff, families, and the larger community. Thank you for your consideration. The next comment is from Kate Vaughn. As we come to end of school year and COVID-19 cases are once again on the rise, pushing Montgomery County into high community transmission, I was in full support of reinstating the mask mandate. To switch to strongly recommend is essentially dismissing sound health advice that has proven to work over and over again throughout this pandemic. We are playing with words for a loud minority and disregarding parents like myself, who not only want my child and my family to remain safe, but all the families, whether I know them personally or not. We live in a society that argues for the individual's freedom of choice while not only ignoring the good of the whole, but also endangering the most vulnerable. Masks are extremely effective and can easily be taken off when outdoors and when you leave for the day. It sounds completely ridiculous to strongly recommend. Let me ask you, the school board of Cheltenham, would you strongly recommend I wear my seatbelt? Strongly recommend I don't eat raw chicken? Strongly recommend I don't ride a bicycle on Interstate 95. Instead, I strongly recommend you maintain the mask mandate until school year ends or we are no longer in high community transmission of COVID-19. I strongly recommend you take health concerns more serious than political hysteria over wearing a face covering. Whole families' lives are disrupted when our children contract COVID-19, let alone if you are the unfortunate people who have serious illness or even death. I have always loved this school district and community. I understand this is a huge challenge to navigate. However, I could not stay silent knowing the answer is right in front of us for the taking. Masks are effective, use them. Thank you. The final comment is from Daniel Little from Glenside. While community levels are high as determined by the CDC measure of COVID-19 spread, I strongly encourage the Cheltenham Township School Board to continue requiring masks for students, employees, and guests. The reasons are self-evident, but simply put, the health and safety of the student population must be the first priority of for the district. A mask policy is a proven tool to reduce community spread of the coronavirus, making district buildings safe. Any decision that makes compliance with a mask policy optional prioritizes other matters over health and safety. And Ms. Henry, that concludes all of the comments submitted through the.
Mr. Barbette, I think we may have, and it could be me not just losing track of the names. There was a email from Daniel Little. Did you read that one?
Yes, that was
Okay.
the last one. I believe
Okay, that was the last one. That was the name on the last one. Okay, and all right, just wanted to make sure that we got through all of them. Thank you, Mr. Barbetta.
Thank you.
All right, so next we have the motion to the approval of revisions to the district health and safety plan. Is there a motion to approve? Ms. Haywood, I see you have a question.
I do. I just wanted to be clear on the revisions that were made to the health and safety plan. It wasn't redlined, so I'm not sure exactly where I should be looking in the plan for the changes.
So what I was going to do is after we do the motion, we'll go to comments and Dr. Scriven will also speak and he can outline all of those if that process is appropriate. Mr. Barbette, I'm looking to you for some guidance here.
Ms. Henry, my recommendation is if the floor is going to go to Dr. Scriven, would be to have Dr. Scriven address the motion prior
to, okay, thank you.
to taking any.
So Dr. Scriven, I will open it up for you to speak about the revisions.
Yes, thank you very much. So as you're aware, since my onboarding in November, in the majority of our communications, if not all, we have attempted to stay aligned with the recommendations of CDC and also MCOPH because we are not the health experts. So I have relied on them as health experts. When we went into high transmission, as most are aware, we were probably one of the first counties to pivot in terms of what was reflected in our health and safety plan, which was when in high transmission or high level, we would be universal masking, which essentially means mask required or mandatory masking. Our communication went out before any statements from MCOPH were even made public. Subsequently, afterwards, there were statements from MCOPH aligned with CDC stating that they were not in high transmission level, going with mask required, and that their recommendations were strongly recommended. Because I am not a health expert and have been trying to stay aligned with those recommendations throughout the year, a recommendation was made to this board that where our wording in high currently says universal masking or mask required, that we would make the adjustment to go to strongly recommended, aligned with the recommendations of our health experts. And when in medium transmission level, we would go to mask optional. So those are the recommendations that are before the board this evening in an effort to realign us with the health experts as we've tried to do throughout the continuum. This is not about my own personal opinion or viewpoint on masking, because I will continue to wear my mask in public. That is my right. But it is merely the fact that I am not a health expert and I am trying to stay aligned with their recommendations for this district. So I hope that answers the changes that we are recommending this evening, Madam Chair, and to other directors of the board.
Thank you, Dr. Scriven. Okay, now we'll go to the motion. Is there a motion to approve the approval of the revisions to the health and safety plan?
If I may, Madam President,
Yes.
I believe there was one additional comment that we did not read into the record.
Okay.
Became aware of. If I may, I apologize.
Yes.
The final comment is from Melissa Little. And it states, I am writing to express my appreciation for reinstating the mask mandate while community levels in Cheltenham are high, and my hope that the decision won't be reneged. What's best for the community isn't always what's most comfortable or convenient. I hope you decide on the health and safety of the students and keep the safety plan intact so that our students can finish out the last 14 days of the school year with graduations and field trips and final projects and not in quarantine. Thanks for your consideration. And that is the final comment through the email address.
Thank you, Mr. Barbetta. All right. We're going to go to the approval of the revisions to the district health and safety plan. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved, Charles Burdell Williams.
Is there a second?
Second, Zachary Epps.
Thank you, Mr. Epps and Mr. Burdell Williams. Before we go to a voice vote, I will open up the floor to the Board of Directors for comments. Ms. Haywood?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Henry. And Dr. Scriven, thank you very much for articulating the changes in the health and safety plan in compliance with the CDC, Pennsylvania Department of Health, Montgomery County, and CHOP Policy Lab as it relates to strongly recommending masks when transmission of COVID is at a high rate, which it is right now in Montgomery County. I just wanted to comment that I will be supporting this motion based on the fact that we have continuously followed the science within our school district, and it's been consistent and compliant with, again, the CDC, the CHOP Policy Lab, Pennsylvania Department of Health, Montgomery County Department of Health, as it relates to transmission levels of COVID. And to the extent that CDC is now strongly recommending masks, that would be in compliance, again, with all of the aforementioned entities from a medical perspective. So I just wanted to articulate that, and that is consistent with the language we have maintained in our health and safety plan since its inception.
Ms. Haywood, that's up. Are you done?
I am, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other members of the board who want to speak? Mr. Epps?
Thank you, Mrs. Henry. I'd also like to express appreciation to the administration. This is no easy task that you all have, that we have as a community either. And so really noting Dr. Scriven's words around following the advice of the health experts in making this adjustment. And in no way does this prevent anyone from taking the precautions that they feel as necessary, no matter the level, low, medium, or high. And so I do recognize that this, and I think a community member said it, that we are in pursuit of health. Children are healthy, teachers are healthy, everyone within the school building has a safe environment to learn and grow and contribute to that growth. And so I do acknowledge we are all on the same page. That is all of our hope and pursuit. And I am also supporting the recommendation to align with the health experts and recognizing that families are still open to make a choice to wear a mask and to take any precaution that you feel is necessary for your family.
Thank you, Mr. Epps. Mr. Burdell Williams.
Thank you, Ms. Henry. My comments are very much so aligned with my colleagues and with Dr. Scriven. So I'll just share that I too support the recommendation being made by administration tonight, strictly on the grounds that if we all trust the science and we all understand what we should do and what is just and appropriate for us individually, then we can and will continue to be as safe as we want to be. I believe that families know what decisions are right for themselves, and knowing and understanding the pulse of the Cheltenham community for a number of years, but most specifically through the last 2 years of COVID, I know us to be very well informed and very responsive to the information being provided to us, not just by the experts, but even those experts who are also our neighbors. And we are lucky enough to have neighbors with such esteem and scientific background amongst ourselves in Cheltenham. So that is just a small piece that I did want to share, and thanks, and I will yield my time.
Thank you, Mr. Burdell Williams. Mr. Cohen.
Yes, thank you. I also support the recommended action. I will say that with high recommended, I do hope that the administration, both central administration, also in the schools, will walk a fine line in terms of reminding people and maybe encouraging people to wear masks when appropriate, and yet respecting that it is highly recommended, it's not a requirement. My point being that I want there to be some reinforcement about, again, people can wear masks and practicing safe practices, while again, respecting what the language is in the new revised plan. And also, again, as my colleague said very well, following the guidance of various different entities that focus on this from a professional manner. Thank you.
Ms. Lohman.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Scriven, for trying to navigate all of this. First of all, just speaking as one board member, I find this extremely confusing, the guidance from the CDC, and then the guidance that came out from the Montgomery County Department of Public Health, and then sort of came back and then came back out. And so I appreciate the, what the administration is trying to do here in terms of trying to figure out what exactly it is being recommended here and why. And just as one board member, kind of trying to read through the comments on the CDC's website, I find them confusing. I find the recommendations here confusing in the sense that it seems to me like when transmission is high, the CDC really wants people to wear masks, but they feel as an agency, they have no authority to require anybody to wear masks. So that is, I guess, the reasoning why they have strongly recommended mask wearing in these types of situations. And that is, I think, now why the Montgomery County Department of Public Health is following suit, because while they see it as very important that people wear masks when community transmission is high, they don't feel like they have the authority to require mask wearing. So I guess the thing that I'm like struggling a little bit with here is, I guess, and this is more of a question, is sort of, would we as a district, if we wanted to continue with mask wearing, would we have the authority to do so? Or are we concerned that we don't have the authority? I guess that's the sort of question that I've just been wondering about with all of this. But given the fact that the CDC says they're strongly recommended in these situations, I struggle with how I could, support anything else. But I just leave that as an open question. If there came a point in time where we really felt like, even though the CDC continually, strongly recommends mask wearing, but isn't going to require anybody to wear a mask, would there ever be a point in time where we would get to that point, or are we sort of always at the point where masks are going to just be recommended but not required? So I just sort of throw that out there. Sorry, having some family pet issues in the background here. Thank you. That's all I have.
Okay, I think that would be all of the board comments. I did speak with Joel, and he did ask me to say that he would be in favor of the strongly recommended for the mask, that he understood the reasons that we were doing it, and he supported Dr. Scriven's decision in that. And so now we'll go to a vote. So we're gonna do this by consent. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay. Any opposed? Any opposed, say nay. Anyone wishing to abstain from the vote? I am an aye in favor, and so the motion carries. The future meetings are as listed on the agenda. Ms. Harding, can you scroll down to the end of I don't want to miss anything. Thank you. I know you're. Future meetings are listed as listed on the agenda, and I'm gonna call for a motion to adjourn this meeting. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you, everyone.
And
Good night.
Yes.
I'm sorry,
Good night.
do we need a motion and a
That's
second?
what I was about to ask.
Oh,
I
I'm
was about to
sorry.
move.
I missed that.
Yeah,
Motion to approve.
yeah, so moved, Zachary.
Second.
Second, Charles Burdell Williams.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you.
Aye.
Thank you.